met Aubrey at a rooftop birthday party a friend dragged me to. She stepped out of the elevator like she owned the night sky. Designer dress, diamond earrings, phone in her hand like a trophy. Every guy turned to look. I was just standing by the drink table, trying not to sweat through my work shirt. She walked straight toward me, smiling like she already decided I was interesting. I thought I was dreaming. She asked what I did. I told her I worked in HVAC, fixing heating and cooling systems around the city. She paused for a second too long, then nodded like she was evaluating a business proposal. But she kept talking, so I assumed it was fine. She called herself a brand strategy creative. Later, I learned that meant she scheduled social media posts for boutiques. Still, she talked like she ran a Fortune 500 company. Her confidence was magnetic. I kept thinking I wasn't her type, but she laughed at my jokes and leaned closer when she talked. She smelled like expensive flowers and ambition. When she gave me her number, I felt like I'd just won something rare. Our first weeks were a dream. Brunch dates, candlelit cocktails, late-night conversations about big futures and beautiful homes. But there were signs even then. She always asked where we were going before agreeing to meet. If the place wasn't trendy enough, she wasn't feeling it today. She took pictures of everything before eating, posing like life was a magazine spread. Her friends were exactly the same. All designer bags and judgmental smiles. They talked about cars, rings, and vacation packages like they were comparing trophies. I didn't belong, but I tried too. I bought nicer shirts, worked extra shifts so I wouldn't feel small when the bill came. She called it motivation. I called it stress. Still, when it was just us, she could be sweet. She'd curl up beside me on the couch and say she loved my work ethic. She'd touch my face and say I was different from the guys she used to date. It sounded like a compliment until I realized it was. Sometimes she would sigh and say she wished our life already looked like success. I didn't know success had a dress code and a reservation list. I told myself it was insecurity, not entitlement. I told myself love required patience. I told myself she just needed someone to show her real value. I didn't realize she had already defined value by numbers and labels. And I didn't know yet that I was slowly shrinking to fit her world. I believed effort would earn appreciation. I believed kindness could soften ambition. I believed in her. But belief can blind you. And love built on appearance always collapses under reality. I spent months saving quietly, skipping takeout, working late, packing cheap lunches. Every dollar felt like a step toward our future. I hid the ring box in the drawer next to my socks like it was a secret treasure. I pictured her face when I'd kneel and ask her to be my wife. I imagined tears, hugs, a moment that felt eternal. I tried the ring on my pinky once, just to feel the weight of commitment. It wasn't huge, but it was honest. It was everything I could give without sacrificing stability. I thought love understood effort more than price tags. I booked a reservation at her favorite upscale restaurant. She called it a temple of aesthetic dining. I called it a financial punch to the stomach, but I didn't care. I was ready to make everything official. That night, she spent 2 hours getting ready. She posed in front of the mirror, like a model waiting for applause. I watched her, thinking I was the luckiest man alive. At the restaurant, she took pictures before touching her water. She complained the lighting wasn't flattering enough for her skin tone. I laughed nervously, telling myself it was just her personality. Halfway through dinner, I tried steering the conversation toward our future. I said I saw life with her. A home, maybe kids, a partnership we could build brick by brick. Her eyes lit up for a moment, then cooled like someone shutting a window. She leaned in, voice soft but sharp enough to cut. Ethan, please don't propose anytime soon. The ring in my pocket felt like it burned through my jacket. I forced a smile, my heart racing like I was falling through ice. Why would you think I was proposing? She rolled her eyes slightly, like the idea bored her. You're acting sentimental, and your friends hinted you were shopping around. Then she laughed like it was cute. I wasn't laughing. She continued, voice dripping with casual cruelty. I can't accept a ring that looks average. My breath stopped. Her fork tapped the plate like punctuation. My friends would destroy me. They expect a certain standard. A certain standard. I suddenly felt like a job application that didn't meet qualifications. I asked quietly, so love depends on a diamond size? She shrugged. Love and lifestyle go together. I can't downgrade my future. Downgrade? I realized she didn't see me. She saw potential income. She saw a someday man, not a partner today. I sat in silence, heartbeat loud, dreams collapsing quietly in my chest. I asked for the check. She didn't notice the pain. She was busy adjusting her lipstick for one last photo. On the drive home, she hummed along to the radio like nothing happened. When we reached her apartment, she kissed my cheek lightly. I'm just being realistic, she said. That night, I placed the ring back in its box. The next morning, I returned it. And I returned her to her world. Not out of anger, but clarity. I woke up the morning after the breakup feeling hollow, like someone had carved out a piece of me. Not because I missed her, but because I felt foolish. I had built a future around someone who only valued the surface. I stared at my hands, calloused and tired, and wondered why they suddenly felt inadequate. Then I reminded myself, those hands built my life piece by piece. I didn't need permission to be proud. I canceled every subscription I didn't need and put the money into savings. I signed up for extra shifts and weekend service calls. Work became therapy, and sweat became clarity. I was tired, but it was the good kind of tired, the honest kind. My coworkers noticed I stayed late without complaining. They started recommending me for side jobs, real money jobs, real trust. I bought tools instead of clothes, skills instead of status. I stopped checking Aubrey's social media. Not out of bitterness, but because I finally realized her life wasn't my benchmark. I began to reclaim parts of myself I had pushed aside to fit her world. I returned to the gym, no longer feeling guilty for prioritizing my health. I learned to cook decent meals instead of living off fast food. I listened to podcasts about small business owners and tradesmen who built empires from garages. I realized success wasn't flashy. Success was steady. I remembered what it felt like to dream without trying to satisfy someone else's imagination. Friends noticed I smiled more. My mom hugged me one Sunday and whispered she was glad I let go. Sometimes losing someone is the universe clearing space, she said. I didn't understand it fully then, but those words planted something deep. As weeks passed, sadness turned into discipline. Discipline turned into growth. And growth turned into opportunity. My boss called me into his office one afternoon. He praised my effort, my reliability, my attitude. He offered me more responsibilities and a raise. Not huge, but symbolic. It felt like the universe saying, "You chose correctly." I didn't celebrate with champagne or luxury dinners. I celebrated by breathing easier. Weekends felt lighter. Mornings felt hopeful. I wasn't chasing admiration anymore. I was chasing improvement. For the first time in a long time, my life felt mine again. No curated image, no silent pressure, no invisible scoreboard. Just quiet progress. Every dollar saved was a brick. Every shift worked was a beam. I wasn't building a lifestyle. I was building a foundation. Brick by brick. Day by day. Step by steady step. I didn't know it yet, but this chapter wasn't about heartbreak. It was about preparing me, sharpening me, strengthening me. And somewhere ahead, someone was going to appreciate the man I was becoming, not the wallet I didn't have yet. I met Claire on a job I almost didn't take. A small physical therapy clinic needed HVAC upgrades, and I showed up with dust on my boots and sweat on my forehead. She greeted me with a warm smile and a firm handshake. Hair tied back, scrubs slightly wrinkled, no makeup, and yet she looked radiant. Not glamorous, real. She thanked me for being on time, something most clients didn't even notice. She asked questions about the system and actually listened to my explanations. Not nodding politely, truly listening. That alone felt new. During the next few visits, we kept talking not small talk, but real talk. About work, effort, family, discipline, mistakes, and lessons. She told me she opened the clinic with student debt and sheer determination. She said she didn't come from privilege, she came from grit. Her words stuck to my ribs. We were working late one evening when she brought coffee for me and the crew. Not fancy cups with gold lettering, simple, thoughtful, perfect. She sat beside me on a dusty bench, sipping slowly. "You look like someone who works for his future, not his image," she said. No flattery, no agenda, just truth. It felt like oxygen. I found myself looking forward to seeing her, hearing her voice, learning about her world. I wasn't performing. I wasn't pretending. I was just myself, and somehow that was enough. After the project ended, I almost walked away without asking her out. But courage grows in quiet places. So I asked. She smiled like she had been waiting. Our first date wasn't a rooftop or a five-star restaurant. It was a cozy cafe with mismatched chairs and good music. She showed up in jeans and a hoodie. I wore my work jacket. No pretense. Just two people showing up honestly. We talked for hours, laughing, sharing old stories, trading dreams like currency. She didn't ask about my income. She asked about my purpose. She didn't care where I had been. She cared where I was going. She told me she admired people who build things with their hands. Creation is a kind of intelligence, she said softly. My chest tightened in a way no luxury ever could. Over months, everything felt easy. No comparison games, no quiet judgment, no invisible scoreboard. We spent weekends hiking, cooking messy meals, fixing little projects, planning nothing fancy and loving everything simple. I started studying for my contractor license, and she offered flashcards and late-night coffee. "Your future is already building itself," she whispered one night. No one had ever spoken to me like that. Not about potential, about reality. I didn't feel like I needed to become more for her to stay. I felt like she stayed because of who I already was. And slowly, just like hard-earned strength, love returned, not loud or demanding, but quiet and solid. One evening, watching her laugh in my kitchen, I knew something with absolute certainty. I hadn't just healed. I had upgraded my entire life by choosing someone who valued hearts over headlines. And for the first time in a long time, forever didn't feel like a fantasy. It felt like a plan. I bought the vintage ring after weeks of hunting. Not in a showroom. Not under spotlights. But in a small antique shop where the owner spoke softly about love lasting decades. The ring wasn't loud, but it had a soul just like Claire. I planned a proposal at the park, where we first talked for hours without checking a phone once. Simple. Quiet. Honest. Before the day came, life sent me an unexpected twist. Claire mentioned her clinic was meeting with a marketing firm to boost online presence. She invited me to stop by that afternoon, said she loved when I visited during my breaks. I arrived in my work clothes, dust on my boots, toolbox still in my truck. I walked in just as the representatives entered. And there she was. Aubrey. Pristine blazer. Forced smile. Eyes scanning the room like she was hungry for validation. When her gaze landed on me, her face froze, eyes widening like she'd seen her past standing upright. "Ethan," she whispered, voice cracking slightly. I smiled politely. Afternoon. Claire turned to me, confused. You two know each other. I nodded calmly. We dated, a while ago. No bitterness. No weight. Just truth. Then I rested my hand, gently on Claire's shoulder. A simple gesture. But a message. Aubrey blinked rapidly, trying to collect herself. Her presentation began, but her confidence cracked like thin glass. Her slides lagged. She stumbled over words. Her voice shook every time Claire smiled at me. I stood nearby pretending to check vents, but really watching the unraveling. Aubrey noticed the ring box outline in my pocket when I reached up to adjust a ceiling register. Her eyes darted to Claire's hand, searching for a ring. Nothing yet. But the panic was already there, sharp, visible, painful. At one point, she tried to reassert superiority. You must be very proud, she told Claire, voice too sweet to be real. Ethan has really come far. Claire didn't flinch. I'm proud of who he is, not what he earns. That sentence landed harder than any diamond could. Aubrey's composure fractured. Her pitch crashed and burned. Claire thanked her politely afterward, but I already knew she wouldn't choose that firm. When Aubrey walked out, she lingered at the door, looking back at me with something like regret, or maybe envy. Not envy of my success. Envy of my peace. She used to call love without luxury settling. But standing there, I saw truth written across her perfect foundation makeup. She hadn't climbed, she'd slipped. And I hadn't changed to fit someone's expectations. I'd simply risen to meet my own potential. As she left, she whispered almost to herself, I didn't think you'd ever. But she didn't finish. She didn't need to. I just nodded once, not cruel, not triumphant, just done. Karma didn't shout. It arrived quietly, dressed in genuine happiness and steady progress. And for once, I didn't feel like proving anything. I didn't need to win. I'd already won the moment. I chose authenticity over appearances. The call came on a quiet Tuesday evening, long after sunset. A number I didn't recognize, but the voice was instant. Soft. Shaky. Desperate. Ethan, it's me, Aubrey. For a moment, old memories flickered like dust in sunlight, then disappeared. I didn't feel anger. I felt distance. She spoke fast, like words were trying to outrun panic. I heard you started your own contracting business. Congratulations. Her tone cracked halfway through the compliment, like pride was choking her. There was a long pause, followed by a trembling sigh. I'm not doing so well. Silence hung between us, heavy and familiar. My firm let me go, she continued. I've applied everywhere, but nobody's hearing. I'm staying with my parents. The girl who once measured worth by skyline dinners now slept in her childhood room. Life has an odd sense of irony. Then came the real reason for the call. I heard maybe you were looking for help, administrative support, scheduling, anything. She sounded small, like life had sanded down all the sharp edges she once carried so proudly. I wasn't looking for help, but I let her finish. I know I didn't appreciate you back then. Back then. Like she had outgrown the version of me she chose to abandon. And then she made her final mistake. I see how successful you are now. You've become the kind of man anyone would be lucky to have. The kind of man. Now. Not then. She didn't love the man, she loved the outcome. I exhaled slowly, steady but cold. Aubrey, the man I am now grew from the hurt you gave me. She whimpered softly, like truth had finally pierced. I can do better, she whispered. I'm different. But desperation still laced her tone, not humility. Then she added, barely audible, your fiancé seems nice. Nice. That one word held the same condescension it always had. As if sincerity was inferior to sparkle. As if loyalty was less valuable than luxury. She's more than nice, Aubrey, I said. She believes in who I am, not who she wants me to become. Aubrey's breath hitched, like someone pulled the ground from beneath her. I wish I had seen your value then, she whispered. Her voice cracked, tiny and tired. It could have been us. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see. No, I said quietly. You didn't lose me because I wasn't enough. You lost me because I wasn't expensive enough for you at the time. Silence. Raw and honest. I'm begging you, Ethan. I'll do anything, just give me a chance. My heart didn't harden. It simply stopped bending. I hope you find your way, I told her softly. But I won't sacrifice who I've become to save who you refuse to grow into. Then I ended the call. Not out of cruelty, but closure. Claire walked into the room a minute later and saw the look on my face. She didn't ask questions. She just wrapped her arms around me like safety itself. And in that moment, I knew something simple and powerful. Sometimes heartbreak isn't the ending. Sometimes it's the doorway. And sometimes the person who breaks you is just clearing space for the person who builds you. We got married beneath tall pines and quiet sky, with nothing flashy, just love and truth. Claire walked toward me smiling like the world finally made sense. Her hand in mine felt like home, not achievement. We exchanged vows we wrote ourselves, promising effort over ego, respect over pride. The ring shimmered, not for its value, but for its history and meaning. We bought a small house with creaking floors and sunlight that filled every morning. I fix things in the garage. She tends plants by the window, and life feels rooted. Friends say we glow now, not because of wealth, but because we stopped performing for approval. Sometimes I think about who I used to be, desperate to prove worth. Now I know worth is built quietly, not worn loudly. Aubrey became a lesson, not a wound. Success didn't taste like revenge. It tasted like peace. Soon, we'll welcome a child into this world, built from patience and real effort. I hope they learn that love is not measured in diamonds or dinners, but in how gently you hold someone's heart. And every night, as Claire rests against me, I remember the truth that saved me. Real love never asks you to become someone else to deserve it.